I'm Maya Samuels, 29, and I'm staring at a dot on my phone that's about to rewrite everything I thought I knew about my marriage. 3 hours ago, my husband snapped at me for asking a simple question. Now I'm looking at his location, and he's been at the police station for the past 6 hours. But before I tell you what I found when I showed up there, I need you to decide something. If your partner accused you of being controlling, but you discovered they were hiding something that could destroy both your lives, would you confront them or walk away? Drop your answer now, because what was waiting for me at that police station wasn't an affair. It was so much worse. It started like every fight starts, with something small that shouldn't have mattered. I'd texted Jason around 6 p.m. "Hey babe, what time will you be home? Making dinner." Simple, normal. The kind of text I'd sent 1,000 times in our 4 years of marriage. He responded 2 hours later. "Late, don't wait up." No explanation, no details, just those 4 words that felt like a door slamming in my face. When he finally walked in at 11:47 p.m., I was still awake. Not because I was trying to catch him doing something wrong, because I was worried. Because late could mean anything, and my anxiety brain had spent 4 hours imagining car accidents and hospital ERs. "Hey," I said from the couch, "long day?" He barely looked at me, just dropped his keys on the counter and headed for the stairs. "Yeah." "What were you doing?" That's when he stopped, turned around, and looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not angry, not defensive. Exhausted, like I'd just asked him to explain quantum physics after running a marathon. "Why do you always have to know where I am?" The question landed like a slap. "I don't always." "Yes, you do. Every day. Where are you? When will you be home? What are you doing? I can't breathe without you needing a detailed itinerary." I stood up, my stomach dropping. "Jason, I just asked about your evening. That's not—" "It's controlling, Maya. You're being controlling." He said it flatly, like he'd been rehearsing, like he'd been thinking about this for a while and finally worked up the courage to say it. "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to—" "What? Keep tabs on me? Make sure I'm not doing anything you don't approve of? I'm 32 years old. I don't need a mother." The word mother cut deeper than he probably meant it to. We'd been trying to get pregnant for 8 months. Every negative test felt like a referendum on whether I'd ever be anyone's mother, and now he was using the word like an insult. "That's not fair," I said quietly. "Neither is feeling like I'm being monitored every second of every day." He started up the stairs. "I'm taking a shower and going to bed. I don't want to talk about this anymore." He disappeared into our bedroom. I heard the shower turn on, and I stood in the living room feeling like I'd been punched in the chest by someone who promised to never hurt me. Was I controlling? I ran through my mental inventory of the past week. I'd asked where he was going when he left for work. I'd asked what time he'd be home. I'd asked who he was texting when his phone buzzed during dinner. Normal questions, weren't they? Or was he right? Was I suffocating him? Was my anxiety masquerading as concern, and he was finally calling me out? I sat back down on the couch. I opened my phone, and I did the thing that would either prove I was wrong or prove I was right. I opened Find My Friends. We'd set it up 2 years ago after Jason got into a minor car accident and couldn't reach his phone to call me. He'd suggested it himself. This way, if something happens, you'll know where I am. I'd barely used it since, maybe twice when he was late and not responding, maybe once when I was meeting him somewhere and needed to see if he was close. But tonight, I opened it, and I stared. The little dot that was supposed to be Jason wasn't at his office, where he'd said he was working late 3 times this week. It wasn't at the gym, where he'd said he was going Tuesday night. It wasn't at his friend Mike's house, where he'd said he was watching the game last Saturday. The dot was at the 3rd District Police Station on Harrison Street, and according to the timestamp, he'd been there for 6 hours. My brain tried to make it sense. Maybe he'd witnessed something. Maybe he was reporting a crime. Maybe someone had stolen his catalytic converter and he was filing a report. But 6 hours? I zoomed in on the map. The dot wasn't moving. It was stationary, inside the building. I called him. It went straight to voicemail. I texted, "Are you okay?" No response. The read receipt never appeared. I sat there for 20 minutes staring at that dot, my mind racing through every possible explanation, and then I did the thing that I'd never done before in our entire relationship. I went through his jacket pockets. His work jacket was hanging by the door. I'd watched him wear it out of the house at 7 a.m. that morning. I reached into the left pocket. Wallet, keys, normal. Right pocket. His phone wasn't there, he'd taken it upstairs. But there was something else. A business card. I pulled it out. Detective Sarah Yen, Financial Crimes Unit, Chicago Police Department. There was a handwritten note on the back. Call me, we need to talk. My hands started shaking. Financial crimes, not traffic violations, not witness statements. Financial crimes. I sat down on the floor, my back against the wall, and I made a decision that would either save my marriage or end it. I got in my car and drove to the 3rd District Police Station. The station. The police station at midnight was exactly what you'd expect. Fluorescent lights, tired cops, and the smell of burnt coffee and institutional cleaning products. I walked up to the front desk. An officer with a graying mustache looked up from his computer. Help you? I'm looking for my husband, Jason Samuels. I think he's here? The officer's expression changed. Just slightly, a flicker of recognition. You're Mrs. Samuels. Yes. Is he okay? Is he hurt? He's not hurt, ma'am, but I'm going to need you to have a seat. Detective Yen will want to speak with you. That name again, the same one on the business card. Why would a detective want to speak with me? What's going on? Please have a seat, ma'am. It wasn't a request. I sat in one of the plastic chairs bolted to the floor. I waited. Every minute felt like an hour. I watched cops walk in and out. I watched a drunk guy get processed. I watched a woman crying on her phone. And then I saw him. Jason. He was walking down a hallway with a woman in a blazer. Detective Yen, I assumed. They were talking. He looked exhausted, defeated. And then he looked up and saw me. The color drained from his face. Maya, what are you? He turned to the detective. I told you I wanted to handle this myself. I told you not to call her. We didn't call her, Detective Yen said calmly. She came on her own. Jason walked over to me. He looked like he wanted to run, like if he could have dissolved into the floor he would have. You need to go home, he said quietly. I'll explain everything later. Just go home. No. I stood up. I'm not going anywhere until someone tells me what's happening. Why are you at a police station? Why have you been here for 6 hours? What the hell is going on? Detective Yen stepped forward. She was in her 40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense energy. Mrs. Samuels, I think you should sit down. I don't want to sit down. I want answers. She exchanged a look with Jason. He closed his eyes and nodded, a small, defeated gesture. Your husband came to us voluntarily this afternoon. He's been cooperating with an ongoing investigation into financial fraud at his company. The words didn't register at first. Financial fraud, investigation, cooperating. What kind of fraud? I asked. Mrs. Samuels, I think this conversation should happen somewhere more private. She gestured toward a door marked Interview Room B. We went inside. Small room, table, 3 chairs. The kind of room you see in every cop show, but somehow worse in real life because it was real and I was in it. Jason sat down. He wouldn't look at me. Detective Yen pulled out a folder. Mrs. Samuels, your husband works for Meridian Capital Management as a portfolio analyst, is that correct? Yes. And he's been there for 6 years? 7, since before we got married. She nodded. For the past 18 months, we've been investigating a Ponzi scheme being run through Meridian. The principals were using client funds to pay returns to earlier investors while funneling money into offshore accounts. We're talking about $47 million in stolen funds, approximately 230 victims. Some of them lost their entire retirement savings. I looked at Jason. You wouldn't... I didn't steal anything, Jason said quickly, finally meeting my eyes. I swear to God, Maya, I didn't know what they were doing. I was analyzing legitimate portfolios, or at least I thought they were legitimate. Then why are you here? I asked. Detective Yen answered. Because 3 weeks ago, your husband discovered discrepancies in the accounts he was managing, transaction records that didn't match, transfers that shouldn't have been possible. He started digging, and he found evidence that his supervisors were falsifying documents. So he came to you, I said slowly, trying to understand. He's a whistleblower. Yes. I should have felt relief. He wasn't a criminal, he was doing the right thing. But I didn't feel relief. I felt terror. What happens now? I asked. Detective Yen looked at Jason. He spoke, his voice hollow. The people running this scheme, they're going to know it was me. The arrests are happening tomorrow. Federal agents, the whole thing. And when it goes down, they're going to figure out who gave the evidence. So you'll be protected, right? Witness protection or something? Whistleblower protections aren't the same as witness protection, she said carefully. Your husband will have legal protections. He won't be prosecuted, but in terms of physical safety, she paused. We've advised him to be cautious. Cautious? I repeated. Cautious like watch your back, or cautious like people might try to kill you? Maya, Jason started. People are going to lose everything, I said, my voice rising. You said 230 victims. Those people are going to be angry, and they're going to know your name, your face, where you live. Which is why I didn't want to tell you. I wanted to handle this myself. I wanted to protect you. By lying to me? By making me think you were pulling away? By making me feel crazy for asking where you were? I couldn't tell you. If you knew, you'd be implicated. You'd be part of it. I was trying to keep you out of it. We're married, Jason. I'm already part of it. Detective Yen held up a hand. Mr. and Mrs. Samuels, I understand this is difficult, but right now we need to discuss logistics. The arrests are happening at 6 a.m. That's 7 hours from now. I recommend you both go somewhere safe, a hotel, a friend's house, somewhere that's not your home address, at least until the initial media coverage dies down. We can't just leave our house, I said. You can, and you should, at least for a few days. We looked at Jason, at the man I'd married 4 years ago, the man I'd trusted, the man who'd been carrying this secret for 3 weeks while I thought he was having an affair or falling out of love or slowly deciding he wanted a divorce. Is this why you've been distant? I asked quietly. Why you've been snapping at me? Why you called me controlling? He nodded, his eyes filling with tears. I've been at the station 3 or 4 nights a week, going through documents, giving statements, working with federal prosecutors, and every time you asked where I was, I had to lie. Every time you asked what I was doing, I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't, and I started resenting you for asking, which wasn't fair. None of this is fair. Why didn't you just tell me? Because I was scared. He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. I was scared you'd be in danger. I was scared you'd tell someone accidentally. I was scared you'd look at me differently. I was scared of all of it, so I kept it inside, and I let it eat me alive, and I pushed you away because it felt safer than pulling you into this nightmare. I sat there processing. My husband wasn't having an affair. He wasn't falling out of love. He was trying to protect me from a corporate fraud scheme that was about to explode into national news. We need to leave, I said finally. Right now, we need to pack a bag and go. We went to a Holiday Inn Express off the highway, far from our neighborhood. Paid cash, used a fake name. Jason had learned a lot in 3 weeks of cooperating with the FBI. We didn't talk in the car. We didn't talk while checking in. We didn't talk until we were in the room with the door locked and the curtains closed. Then I started crying. Not gentle tears, wrenching, gasping sobs. He pulled me into his arms. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Maya. I should have told you. You should have trusted me, I choked out. You're my wife. I deserved to know. I know. You're right. I was wrong. We sat on the edge of the hotel bed, holding each other, and I felt the weight of the past 3 weeks crash down on both of us. Tell me everything, I said finally. From the beginning, no more secrets. So he did. He told me how he'd noticed the discrepancies, how he'd thought it was just a clerical error at first, how he'd mentioned it to his supervisor and been told to drop it, how he kept digging anyway because something felt wrong. He told me about the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the fabricated statements being sent to clients showing returns that didn't exist. He told me about the night he realized what he was looking at, a Ponzi scheme, massive, organized, criminal. I had a choice, he said. I could pretend I never saw it and keep my job, keep our life, keep everything normal, or I could report it and blow up everything. Why did you report it? He looked at me. Because there was a 73-year-old woman who put her entire retirement into one of the portfolios I managed, $890,000, her whole life's savings. And I looked at her file and I thought about my mom, about your parents, about what would happen if someone stole everything they'd worked for their entire lives. He swallowed hard. I couldn't let it keep happening, even if it meant losing my job, even if it meant we'd lose everything. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I stayed quiet. I reached for his hand. I wish you'd told me. Would you have wanted to know? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you were right to protect me. But Jason, we're in this together. That's what marriage means. I know that now. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked the question that had been clawing at the back of my mind. What happens to us financially, I mean, if you lose your job, if we lose the house, if... I already talked to an employment lawyer. Whistleblower protections should cover me. I can't be fired for reporting the fraud. But realistically, he laughed bitterly, my career in finance is over. Who's going to hire the guy who brought down his own company? Even if I was right, even if I was the hero, I'm still the guy who couldn't keep his mouth shut. So what do we do? I don't know, start over. I've been thinking about teaching, maybe high school math, something that doesn't involve, he gestured vaguely, all this. I make enough to support us while you figure it out. My graphic design business is doing okay. It's not finance money, but we won't starve. He looked at me like I'd just offered him oxygen after drowning. Would you be okay with that? With me starting completely over? Jason, I married you, not your job, not your salary, you. And if you is a high school math teacher instead of a portfolio analyst, that's fine, as long as you is honest with me. He pulled me close. I promise, no more secrets, no more lies, even when I think I'm protecting you. Especially when you think you're protecting you. We spent the rest of the night watching the news on my phone, waiting for 6 a.m., waiting for our old life to officially end.
The arrests made national news. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, every major outlet. $47 million Ponzi scheme uncovered at Chicago investment firm. 3 executives arrested in massive fraud case. Whistleblower exposes years of financial deception. Jason's name wasn't mentioned in the initial coverage, but it didn't matter. Within 48 hours, someone had leaked it. Social media did the rest. We got death threats, angry victims who'd lost everything and wanted someone to blame. Jason had reported the fraud, but to them, he'd worked for the company. He'd been part of the machine that destroyed their lives. We also got thank you letters. People who said he'd saved them from losing more, people who called him brave, people who wanted to shake his hand. We ignored both. We stayed in the hotel for a week. Then we went to my parents' house in Michigan for 2 weeks. Then we came home to find our house had been vandalized, spray paint on the walls, windows broken. The message was clear: you're not safe here. We moved. Smaller apartment. Different neighborhood. We used my maiden name on the lease. Jason quit his job, or rather, the company folded during the federal investigation, so there was no job to quit. He started substitute teaching while studying for his teaching certification. I picked up more freelance work. We lived on savings and hope, and the belief that we'd made the right choice. It took 6 months before things started to feel normal again. 6 months before we could walk to the grocery store without looking over our shoulders. 6 months before Jason could sleep through the night without nightmares. The trial lasted 8 weeks. Jason testified for 3 days. I sat in the gallery and watched him tell the truth under oath, while defense attorneys tried to paint him as a disgruntled employee seeking revenge. The jury didn't buy it. All 3 executives were convicted. Combined sentence, 67 years in federal prison. The victims got some money back, not all of it. Most was gone, laundered, hidden in accounts they'd never recover. But the liquidation of company assets returned about 30% of what was stolen. The 73-year-old woman whose file Jason had seen, Mrs. Patricia Huang, sent us a letter. "Dear Mr. Samuels, I got back $267,000 of my $890,000. It's not what I lost, but it's enough to live on if I'm careful. My daughter says I should be angry with you for not catching it sooner, but I'm not. I'm grateful you caught it at all. You lost your career to do the right thing. That's rare. Thank you, Patricia." Jason cried when he read it. He kept that letter in his wallet for 2 years. I'm 32 now. Jason is 35. We live in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Evanston. He's a full-time high school algebra teacher. I run my own graphic design company. We make less than half what we made before. We're okay with that. Last month, I asked him a question I'd been afraid to ask for 3 years. Do you regret it? Reporting the fraud? Blowing up our lives? He thought about it. Really thought about it. Every day, he said, and also not at all. Does that make sense? No. He laughed. I regret what it cost us. The house, the safety, the ease of our life before. I regret the nights you couldn't sleep because you were scared. I regret the death threats. I regret all of that. But I don't regret doing the right thing, even when the right thing is expensive, even when it costs everything. Last week, we found out I'm pregnant. We're terrified. Money is tight. Our apartment is small. We're still rebuilding. But when Jason found out, he looked at me and said, "This kid is going to have parents who know how to do the hard thing. That's worth more than a big house." I hope he's right. I still think about that night, the night he called me controlling, the night I found him at the police station. I asked my therapist about it once. Was I being controlling? Was he right? She said something that stuck with me. Control is about power. Concern is about connection. You were asking where he was because you wanted connection. He couldn't give you connection because he was protecting power. The power to keep you safe, the power to handle everything alone. Neither of you was wrong, you were just speaking different languages. I asked him about it too, months later when we could finally talk about that night without crying. "Do you still think I'm controlling?" I asked. "I think I was deflecting," he said. "I called you controlling because I couldn't admit I was terrified. It's easier to make someone else the problem than to admit you're drowning." So I wasn't being controlling? Maya, you asked where I was. That's not control. That's marriage. I just couldn't see the difference when I was lying to you every day. We're learning. Learning to talk, learning to trust, learning that protection isn't the same as partnership. Last week, he texted me at 4 p.m. Running late, student needed help after school, home by 6. I responded, "No problem, thanks for letting me know." Simple, normal, honest. The kind of text exchange we should have been having all along. I still have Find My Friends on my phone. So does he. We can both see each other's locations. Not because we don't trust each other, because trust isn't the absence of verification, it's the willingness to be verified. If I check his location now, I'll see a dot at Evanston Township High School, room 247, where he teaches Algebra 2 to juniors who think math is pointless until he shows them how compound interest could save or destroy their financial futures. He teaches them more than math. He teaches them that doing the right thing is expensive, and it's worth it anyway. Some of his students know who he is. They've Googled him. They've seen the articles. They ask him about it sometimes. He tells them the truth. I had a choice between easy and right. I chose right. It cost me everything and gave me everything at the same time. That's what integrity means. I'm proud of him, not because he's a hero, but because he's a man who saw something wrong and couldn't look away, even when looking away would have been so much easier, even when looking away would have saved us. He looked, he spoke, he paid the price, and every night when he comes home to our small apartment, to our secondhand furniture, to our budget groceries and our careful spending, I know exactly where he is. Not because I'm tracking him, because he tells me. And that makes all the difference.